Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night because you felt someone watching you? Amanda thought she was safe in her quiet suburban home until she found muddy footprints leading up to her little daughter's bedroom window. Every morning, new prints appeared. She called the police, set up cameras, locked every door, but no matter what she did, the stalker was always one step ahead. Then, one night, she woke to the sound of her daughter's window sliding open, and that was the moment Amanda realized. The stalker wasn't outside anymore, he was already inside the house. Stay with me until the end, because this story will make you check every window and every shadow in your home tonight. The first time Amanda heard the sound, she thought it was nothing more than the wind. Just a faint scratching outside her daughter's window, a branch dragging along the glass. She pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders and told herself not to be paranoid. But when morning came, there were muddy footprints in the flower bed beneath the window. Not paw prints. Not the mark of some stray dog. Human, barefoot. That was when the fear took root. Her daughter, Emily, was 8 years old. Sweet, quiet, still young enough to sleep with a stuffed rabbit clutched against her chest. Amanda didn't want to scare her, so she kept the discovery to herself. She knelt in the dirt, tracing the footprints with her fingers, heart hammering as she counted the toes. They led up to the window and stopped. No retreating tracks, as if whoever it was had stood there watching for hours. The second night, Amanda set her alarm for 2:00 a.m. She crept down the hallway, every floorboard a gunshot in the silence. When she reached Emily's room, she pressed her ear to the door. Nothing, just the faint hum of her daughter's soft snoring. Amanda opened the door an inch and peeked inside. Moonlight spilled across the carpet. The curtains shifted slightly, though the window was closed. For a long, terrible moment, she was sure she saw a shape outside, a shadow leaning too close. But when she blinked, it was gone. Morning brought new footprints. The police came the third day. 2 officers, polite but distracted, walking the yard with flashlights, even though the sun was out. They shrugged, said it was probably teenagers messing around. Maybe someone drunk cutting through the yard. When Amanda insisted on the bare footprints, one officer gave her a look that said hysterical single mom. "We'll patrol the area," he promised, jotting down her statement, "but I wouldn't worry too much. Probably just kids." That night, Amanda installed her own camera. She stayed up late watching the feed on her phone, her eyes dry and burning. Around 1:17 a.m., the motion alert buzzed. Her heart nearly stopped. She tapped the notification, the video filling her screen, Emily's window. And there clear as day was a man. He was standing barefoot in the mud, wearing dark clothes. His face tilted upward, almost pressed to the glass. He didn't move, didn't breathe, just stared. Amanda's hands shook so badly she dropped the phone. When she picked it up again, the screen was black. Camera feed lost. She didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, there were no footprints. That was the worst part, because she knew he'd been there. She'd seen him, but there was nothing left behind, as though he'd learned to cover his tracks. Amanda begged the police to check again, showed them the 30-second video clip. But when the tech officer pulled it up, the footage was corrupted, glitched, static-filled, the image frozen just before the figure appeared. Could have been a technical issue, the cop said, scratching his head. Cheap cameras do that sometimes. It wasn't an issue, Amanda snapped. He was there. I saw him. Ma'am, we'll keep an eye on the neighborhood. In the meantime, make sure your doors and windows are locked, okay? As if that would help. By the 5th night, Amanda was barely holding herself together. She'd started leaving the hall light on, a baseball bat propped beside her bed. Every creak of the house set her nerves on fire. At 2:45 a.m., she heard it again. Not scratching this time. Not footsteps in the dirt. Glass. Sliding. Amanda bolted upright, her heart slamming against her ribs. She grabbed the bat, sprinting down the hallway, praying Emily was still asleep. She reached the door, pressed her ear to the wood, and froze. The sound was coming from inside the room. Her hand trembled as she pushed the door open. The curtains swayed in the breeze. The window was wide open, moonlight flooding the room. Emily was still asleep, curled up with her rabbit. And in the corner, just barely visible in the shadows, stood a figure. Not outside anymore, inside, watching. Amanda's breath locked in her chest. She didn't move. Couldn't. The figure stood still in the corner, half shrouded by shadow. Her trembling hand clutched the baseball bat tighter, her knuckles turning white. For one unbearable second, she thought he would lunge at her. But then, as if he were made of smoke, the figure slipped backward through the window and vanished into the night. Amanda rushed to her daughter, shaking her gently awake. "Emily, honey, wake up." The little girl stirred, confused, blinking sleep from her eyes. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Amanda forced a smile she didn't feel. "Nothing, sweetheart. That dream." "Come on, you're sleeping in my room tonight." She locked Emily's window, nailed the frame shut, and dragged her daughter down the hall. But even as Emily curled against her in bed, Amanda couldn't close her eyes. Every creak of the house sent ice through her veins. She kept staring at the bedroom door, half expecting it to ease open. By dawn, Amanda's mind was frayed. She called the police again. This time, she demanded they come inside and look. They did a sweep, checked the windows, even stepped into the yard. But of course, there was nothing. No footprints, no broken glass. No trace that anyone had been there at all. "Look, ma'am," one officer said, his tone soft but dismissive. "You've been under a lot of stress. Maybe you should—" "Don't you dare say I imagined it," Amanda snapped, her voice cracking. "I saw him. He was inside her room." The officer exchanged a glance with his partner. "We'll file a report. That's all we can do without evidence. Maybe install better security, motion lights. Stay with a friend if you feel unsafe. A friend." If only it were that simple. Amanda had moved to this quiet suburb precisely because it seemed safe. Emily loved her school, and Amanda didn't want to uproot her again. But now, every shadow outside looked like a man waiting to get in. That night, Amanda dragged a chair into the hallway and sat with the bat across her lap. She kept the lights dim, listening for the slightest sound. Hours passed. Her eyes burned, her body screamed for sleep. At 3:12 m, the air grew heavy. The house seemed to listen. Then came the sound, a slow, deliberate creak, not from the front door, not from the windows, from the attic. Amanda gripped the bat tighter. The attic? That made no sense. She hadn't been up there in years. It was sealed tight with a pull-down ladder. But the noise came again, wood shifting, something dragging across beams. Her skin went cold. What if he hadn't left at all? What if he'd been hiding inside? She dialed 911 with shaking hands. The dispatcher's calm voice barely reached through her panic. "Ma'am, stay on the line. Officers are on their way." Amanda whispered into the phone, afraid to speak too loudly. "He's in my house. I can hear him." The dispatcher told her to lock herself in a room with her daughter. She hurried back to Emily's bedroom, pulled her out of bed, and fled into the bathroom, locking the door behind them. Emily was crying, clutching her rabbit tight. "Mommy, what's happening?" Amanda tried to soothe her, but her own voice quivered. "It's okay, baby. The police are coming." They sat there in the dark, the only sound the faint scratching overhead. Finally, red and blue lights flashed outside. The officers searched the house top to bottom, even the attic. Nothing. No footprints, no signs of forced entry. No one inside. Amanda felt like she was losing her mind. The police left again, their sympathy worn thin. But as Amanda tucked Emily back into bed, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. Emily's stuffed rabbit sat on the dresser. The same rabbit Emily had been clutching in the bathroom. Amanda's eyes darted to the bed. Her daughter was asleep, holding another rabbit, identical down to the stitched eye and torn ear. 2 rabbits. Amanda's hand shook as she picked one up, the weight of it wrong, heavier than it should be. She turned it over and saw fresh mud smeared across the fabric. Her stomach dropped. The stalker hadn't just been watching from the window. He'd been close enough to touch her daughter. Amanda barely slept after discovering the second rabbit. She sat at the kitchen table until sunrise, staring at both stuffed animals side by side, her mind screaming with questions. How had he gotten inside without waking her? Without leaving a single trace? Emily padded into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. "Why are there 2, Mommy?" she asked, pointing at the rabbits. Amanda forced a smile, even as her stomach twisted. "Bought you a new one. Thought you might like a spare." Emily tilted her head. "But it smells funny." Amanda quickly shoved the mud-stained rabbit into a trash bag and knotted it tight. She tossed it in the outside bin before she could change her mind. But all day she felt watched, checking the blinds, jumping at every sound. That night, Amanda made a decision. She pushed her bed against Emily's door, barricading it with her dresser. She kept the bat under her pillow, her phone clutched in her hand. Sleep came in snatches, broken by every groan of the house. Sometime after 2:30 Amanda awoke with a start. The hall light flickered, then went out. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A notification, motion detected, backyard. Amanda opened the app with trembling fingers. The feed loaded slowly, fuzzed with static, then the image sharpened. A man stood in the yard, staring straight into the camera. She froze. It wasn't just the sight of him that made her blood run cold. It was the smile, wide, unblinking, as though he knew she was watching, as though the camera was part of the game. Amanda hit 911 again, whispering into the phone, "He's back. He's outside. Please, please hurry. Stay on the line, ma'am. Officers are on their way." The dispatcher's calm voice was a thread holding Amanda together. But then another sound cut through her panic. Cree. Amanda's gaze snapped toward the ceiling. The attic. Her breath hitched. He wasn't outside anymore. "Emily, wake up," she hissed, shaking her daughter. The little girl stirred, eyes wide with confusion as Amanda scooped her into her arms. They moved toward the bathroom again, but before Amanda reached the door, a heavy thud echoed above. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Her phone slipped in her sweaty hand, clattering to the floor. The dispatcher's voice crackled through the speaker, distant and useless now. Amanda locked the bathroom door and pressed her back against it, holding Emily tight. Her daughter buried her face in Amanda's chest, trembling. The scratching grew louder. Not above anymore, at the door. Amanda's blood ran cold as the knob twitched. Slowly, deliberately. "Go away," she screamed, her voice breaking. "The police are coming." Silence, then a whisper. So soft she almost thought she imagined it. "Nice rabbit." Amanda's body seized in terror. Her eyes burned with tears as she gripped the bat, ready to swing at whatever came through the door. Minutes dragged like hours. Finally, flashing lights filled the windows. A pounding knock at the front door followed. "Police." Amanda rushed out with Emily clinging to her, her heart racing. The officers searched again, this time more thorough, combing every inch of the house, even the crawl spaces. Nothing. "Ma'am, there's no one here," the lead officer said firmly. "Are you sure?" "I know what I heard," Amanda snapped. "I heard him." The officer's jaw tightened. "Then maybe you should stay somewhere else tonight. Family, a friend." Amanda shook her head. "We have nowhere else." The cops left, promising extra patrols, but Amanda knew it wouldn't matter. He was too good, too careful. That night, she moved Emily into her own room and locked every door, nailed shut every window. She sat up in the living room with a bat across her knees, exhaustion clawing at her. Her phone buzzed again. Motion detected inside hallway. Amanda's blood froze. She opened the app. The camera showed the upstairs hallway, and there he was, standing at her daughter's bedroom door. Amanda's heart seized. She stared at the live feed on her phone, her throat locked in a silent scream. The man stood at Emily's bedroom door, his body motionless, his head tilted slightly, as if listening. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking at the door. Amanda bolted up, the bat clutched tight, legs trembling beneath her. Every instinct screamed to run, but Emily was upstairs alone. She crept up the staircase, one step at a time, her bare feet silent against the wood. The house felt cavernous, every shadow alive, every creak a gunshot in the silence. Halfway up, the camera feed cut out. The screen went black. Amanda froze, her breath catching in her chest. The only sound was the faint, rhythmic creaking of the upstairs floorboards, someone moving slowly, deliberately. She forced herself forward, adrenaline driving her. At the top of the stairs, Emily's door was slightly ajar. Amanda's voice cracked into the silence. "Stay away from her." The movement inside stopped. Her grip tightened on the bat, sweat dripping from her palms. She nudged the door open with the tip of the bat, heart hammering. The moonlight spilled across the room, illuminating Emily's bed. She was still there, fast asleep, rabbit tucked beneath her chin, but the window was open again. The curtains fluttered in the night air. The room was empty. Amanda sagged against the wall, sobbing in relief and terror all at once. She rushed to Emily, pulling her into her arms, clutching her so tightly the girl stirred awake with a whimper. "Mommy, it's okay, baby. I've got you. I've got you." She slammed the window shut, locked it, then dragged Emily back to her own bedroom, barricading the door again with furniture. They huddled together on the bed, the bat never leaving Amanda's hand. Minutes crawled by, then hours. At dawn, Amanda finally drifted into a restless sleep. When she woke, sunlight was streaming through the blinds. For the first time in days, the house was quiet, safe. She almost believed it had been a nightmare, until she saw the phone on her nightstand. The camera app was still open, and there was a new recording. Hands shaking, she tapped it. The video filled the screen. It was her bedroom, recorded from inside. Her blood turned to ice. The man was standing over her sleeping body, just inches from her face. He leaned down, his breath fogging the lens. Then, in a low, rasping voice, he whispered, "Mine." The video ended. Amanda's scream tore through the house. She scrambled from the bed, pulling Emily into her arms, panic so fierce it drowned out every thought. The bat clattered to the floor. She grabbed her keys, her phone, anything she could carry, and bolted for the door. The morning sun was blinding, the street empty, but she didn't stop running. She shoved Emily into the car, her hands fumbling the ignition. The engine roared to life. She tore down the street, tires squealing, heart pounding so loud it drowned out Emily's frightened cries. Amanda didn't know where she was going, just away. Away from the house, from the cameras, from the shadow that had wormed its way inside her life. But even as she drove, her mind replayed the image over and over the man's face, close enough to touch, hovering above her as she slept. And the worst part wasn't that he had been inside. It was the realization that he had always been inside. Somewhere in the walls, the attic, the crawl spaces, watching, waiting. Amanda gripped the wheel, tears blurring her vision, the whisper still echoing in her skull. "Mine."